You know those official career ladders that companies have for designers? Ever look at one and just feel like it's missing the real story? They list skills and responsibilities, sure, but they don't capture the huge fundamental ways you actually change as you grow. In this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on those unwritten rules. So that's the big question we're tackling today. What are these career ladders actually missing? What are the subtle but massive shifts that are happening in the background as you climb from one level to the next? Well, the short answer is a lot. They miss how your job doesn't just get more complicated, it completely transforms. It's not just about getting better at the things you already do. It's about starting to do entirely different things. So let's unpack what that really means. All right, let's dive into the first major transformation. This is a big one. It's the shift from being a tactical doer to becoming a long-term strategic thinker. This is probably the biggest leap any designer makes in their career. Now, I know the word strategy can feel a little intimidating, right? Like it's something decided in a secret boardroom. But let's just boil it down to something really simple. Strategy is just planning further ahead. It's moving from just reacting to requests to proactively shaping what's coming next. And this chart shows perfectly where we all start. As an intern, your world is almost entirely tactical. I mean, look at that. 90% of your time is spent in the tools, like Figma, executing on tasks that are already pretty well defined. Someone tells you what to make, and your job is to make it look great. Now, look at this jump. For a senior designer, the whole chart is basically flipped on its head. Only about a quarter of their time is spent in the tools. The other 75%? That's all strategic work. Planning, exploring messy problems, asking why, and thinking about the long game. The job isn't about how to build something anymore. It's about what to build and why we should build it in the first place. So naturally, as your focus shifts, the way you define your own job title starts to change too. An intern might see design as, what it looks like. A junior designer starts to think a bit bigger about creating a nice user experience. But once you hit mid-level and senior, your definition of design just explodes. It becomes about solving core business problems. It's a really profound shift in your whole perspective. All right, let's move on to the second transformation, which is just as huge. It's all about who you work with. Your circle of collaborators literally grows exponentially as you get more senior. When you start out as an intern, your world is pretty small and focused. You've got your buddy, that senior designer who's showing you the ropes, and then your immediate PM and a few engineers. It's a really tight-knit crew, and it's designed to help you learn in a safe space. As a junior, that circle starts to stretch. You're not just talking to your immediate team anymore. You're actually starting to engage directly with end users in research sessions, and you're learning from a wider group of senior designers. The bubble is beginning to pop. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. At the mid-level, two new groups suddenly appear on your radar. You start working with engineers from other teams, and you realize your project connects to other parts of the product. And, crucially, you begin talking to business stakeholders, learning to speak their language and understand their goals. By the time you're a senior, you're basically a cross-functional hub. You're talking to everyone, sales, marketing, sometimes even C-level executives. And just as important, the journey comes full circle. You are now mentoring the new interns and juniors. I love this way of thinking about it. You become a master of collaboration, and you almost have to put on a detective's hat. Your job is to go out and find clues and connect dots from all these different corners of the company to see the big picture that nobody else can. Okay, so we've talked about your mindset and your network. Let's get to our third and final shift, which is about the very nature of the work you do. It's a journey from focusing on pixels to defining and solving really ambiguous problems. At the junior level, your projects usually have a pretty small defined scope. There's not a lot of ambiguity. The problem is clear. But for senior designers, it's the complete opposite. They get handed these big, messy, ambiguous challenges where their first job is just to figure out what the real problem even is. They're trusted to bring clarity to chaos, and how you tackle these projects changes too. Early on, you follow the design process you learned like it's a recipe from a cookbook. But as you grow, you realize the by-the-book process almost never fits the messiness of reality. You get good at adapting the process to fit the project. And most importantly, you learn to spend most of your time just deeply understanding the problem before you even think about a solution. That is the mark of a truly mature designer. Okay, we have covered a lot of ground here. So let's try to synthesize all of this and figure out what it means for you and your career path. How do we pull these threads together to really understand what's next? So here's the bottom line. Your growth as a designer really comes down to these three parallel transformations. You're moving from tactical to strategic, you're expanding your circle from a small team to the whole organization, and you're shifting from just executing on solutions to defining the actual problems that need to be solved. And that brings us to a final, really personal question for you. Thinking about these three big shifts, what's the single most important skill that you need to develop to get to that next level? Is it your strategic thinking? Is it how you talk to people outside your team? Or is it your ability to deal with messy, undefined problems? And the answer might just be the most important takeaway from all of this. The skill that's going to unlock that next step for you is very likely the one that isn't even written down on your company's official career ladder. It's in these unwritten rules where the real growth happens.